Let I explain you now the notes which I will give you in your copies. So we can understand it like this. Here we can see the electric field due to a charge distribution. Now we will not have a single or two charges. We will have a charge distribution along a wire, along a plate or something else. So the distribution can be understood if we take the distribution as a uniform distribution. Like say, if I have a wire of certain length, so let me take all the length have equal amount of charges. Suppose there are 1000 charges, 1000 in a particular length. So this is called uniform charge distribution. And for this we have a new parameter called linear charge density. We represent it by the Greek symbol lambda. Linear charge density means the total charge upon the length. That's a simple thing. And if suppose I take a small charge element, length element delta L, so I can take it as the product of lambda and delta L. That is the Coulomb total charge on that. Similarly, we can take surface charge density, which is not possible always we have a wire. We can have a sheet of paper also. Suppose we have a sheet here and we can take a small area in this delta S. So surface charge density is sigma, means surface charge density sigma means we can write it like total charge upon area. This way we can write it. Now if you multiply it with a small area, you can get the charge, total charge on it. Similarly here for delta S, I multiply the surface charge density with the small given area. So I got the total charge present in that area. So this way also we can do it. Okay. Now what about if you consider volume? Suppose this is the entire solid. So let me take the small volume of it, that is delta V. So again volume density, so this charge upon volume. So for delta V, I can write density into delta V. Okay, now let me take an example based on all these three cases. So I'm taking this third case to explain this. So here let me have to find out electric field intensity at a point P. Okay, at a distance R from this small surface, and with the help of this small surface we want to find the electric field intensity at this point P due to this whole surface. So here we can consider it. So in that case we know the formula delta E equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 Q upon I square. But here Q is the charge enclosed by this volume element. So that will be rho delta V. In place of this we will write this P rho delta V. So net E will be the volume integral of it because it's a solid thing. So we will take volume integral. So here you see 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 constant. Even this quantity rho is also constant, we can take it out. Okay, so then we can take the volume integral of it, right? And how we'll deal? Numericals we will study about that. In place of this, if we would have been dealing with this question, so we would have taken this quantity sigma delta S in this place. So means this formula is useful for all the three cases I have discussed above, right? Now let me talk about the Gauss theorem. Okay, the statement of Gauss theorem says that if a charge is enclosed in a particular Gaussian surface, the net flux will be equal to 1 upon epsilon 0 times of the charge. Epsilon 0 is permittive of the free space. Its value is known to all of us. Now how to prove the Gauss theorem? Now let's see how to prove the Gauss theorem. Here is a Gaussian boundary and it's a charge placed over here. Let's say this is the positive charge, right? So it is going to emanate the electric field in all the directions. Okay. But to calculate this whole, let me assume a small surface element here. Again, it is a surface element, delta S I have written. Okay. So it is a surface element, the charge is inside, not on the surface of it, right? So at this point, the electric field is E, given by E, and area is given to be delta S, and this is the area vector A, it is representing that side, in that direction. That is the radius, it will be same throughout. So for this small element of area, we can have delta phi, small flux, that is E into delta S. The theta will be 0 here, so cos 0 is 1, so I am not including cos term here. So we'll write the values, putting the values, we are having a certain value here, so we got this thing. Now if we have, this is the value for this small surface element delta S. Now if we have to calculate this for entire sphere, so we'll go with the surface integral. Okay, so surface integral we can take, all these things are the constant terms, we can take it out. So thing inside is surface integral of delta S. So as we know it's a sphere of radius R, so the surface area of this will be 4 pi r square, as I have placed here 4 pi r square. On putting this value we are getting the required objective phi equal to 1 upon epsilon 0 q. So it's a proof of Gaussian theorem. Now here are some important conclusions we can draw from the Gaussian law. The first conclusion is that from the first equation we can also state that if no charge is enclosed, the net flux will be 0. If suppose in any Gaussian surface there is no charge, so definitely on this formula this term will be 0, so phi will be 0. Second, Gaussian law is also true for closed surfaces and it does not depend on the shape of the object. You can take any shape, spherical, rectangular, you can take any square shape, you can take a cubical shape. So all Gaussian surfaces are included. Shape doesn't matter, but matters is the Gaussian surface. The charge q in the equation includes sum of all the charges. Here I have demonstrated. You see the total number of charges here, different charges are there, q minus 2q plus 3q. But the net effect will be their combined effect. Combined effect is plus 2q. If you solve them, it is coming plus 2q charge. So the net flux will be 2q upon epsilon naught 0. Now the fourth point is so tricky. Let I explain you this in a simple manner. It says that when some charge is outside and some charge is inside. Suppose this is a surface. Here is some charge outside and it is some charge inside. So the term of left hand side, that is the net flux will be due to both of them, inside and outside their total will be, but this charge q will be the one which is inside only. As it reads, the net flux will be the sum of both, while the total charge will be the charge, sorry it is written 2 times, the inside one only. And this term is very common, as it states the surface which encloses the charge is called Gaussian surface. We should not choose the Gaussian surface. Surface should not pass through any discrete set of charges. Any line charge you cannot include in that. Suppose the charge distribution we cannot include. Gaussian law is used for symmetrical charge distribution. It will be better if you take symmetrical charge distribution because there the discrepancy will be low. So integration will be very easy for us. It follows inverse square law. You know very well, as far you go from the charge, the electric field intensity decreases. As far flux will also decrease. Some important points. Here you see in the first case, it is a Gaussian surface, charge is outside, so flux will be 0. In all 3 cases you see the total charge includes is delta q, but the shapes are different. So I told you shape doesn't matter, it matters the charge enclosed. So in all the cases the net flux will be q upon epsilon naught 0. Another case, you have a charge at the center of a cube, it's a solid body, and it is asking you to tell us the flux through any one of the surface. Let's say it is asking from this surface. So what is the total flux coming out of this surface if you have to calculate? So as we know the total charge q, so the flux through the whole cube will be q upon epsilon naught 0. Total faces are 6. So let I divide this by 6. So this is the flux coming out from the one face only, right? Now let me take one problem. It's a cube, okay? It is placed in an electric field. The electric field is given by this variation alpha x 1 upon 2 I. I in the end mean this electric field have only component along x axis, along this axis. Along y axis no component, along z axis no component.